Hi guys. Just wanted to give you an intro on what this episode is going to be about. So today's episode, we're going to cover the elections, stress relief from the elections. So some stress relief tactics that the guys have kind of developed over time. High school memories is something we're going to briefly brush up on, and then we'll figure out who in this group has a sweet tooth. Stay tuned.
Hey guys, welcome to this episode of the Trainer Feed. In light of the US election currently going on, we're going to do an episode a bit more focused on that. So let's just see how the guys are doing. David, how you doing?
I'm good. Waiting for Nevada to hurry the fuck up. Other than that, I'm good.
Aren't we doing more than just the election? Didn't we speak about that?
Yeah, my bad. I'm sorry. We're also, because this can be a stressful time for some of us, we're going to talk a little bit about strategies that we incorporate to deal with stress. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. So my bad. You're right, Angel. My bad.
There we go.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm chilling. It was a stressful week. I definitely can talk a little bit more about like stress and how it's affected me. I'm sure everybody's going through it in some way, shape, or form. But how are you doing?
I'm good. I think everyone is stressed, and when I've spoken to some clients about the stress of the elections, some of them have made good points in saying like it's not something you can control, and something that I've read often, like it's hard to stress, or he's saying you shouldn't, but it's hard to stress about something you cannot control, right? If something is within your control, your grasp, that's different, but this you have absolutely no control, which can make it almost worse, right? Because you cannot control the outcome. So, but I mean, doing relatively well, healthy, and even though a lot of the streets in New York City are boarded up, or like a lot of the windows, I so far haven't seen anything. I don't know about near you guys, but
it's just been loud.
I haven't seen anything. I mean, the only stuff I've seen was the stuff going on in the news, but I honestly haven't seen shit going on.
Yeah, it's just been like protesting or marches, and then everybody in Harlem has a motorcycle or dirt bike. Sorry,
dirt bike.
That's pretty. You just blew out everybody's ears who's listening to the podcast, but that's how it sounds like. And then just people just chanting, dirt bikes, cops, all that stuff. But it doesn't seem like anything crazy is actually happening. It's just everybody's just restless, young and restless.
What Angel's not telling the listeners is he's actually leading all this.
I'm leading the dirt bike.
Angel's the one on a dirt bike, like on one leg or one hand, like not looking, like doing the tricks.
Doing wheelies.
If you ever see those guys in the city,
like Meek Mill's got nothing on me.
They're crazy, man. Oh, there was last night. Actually, I want to say real quick. When Trader Joe's, I'm headed back. I'm on 6th Avenue. That's the way I come home. And near Herald Square, this guy's on a bike, but it's like a bike, like a pedal bike. It's one of those where the seat and the handles are like 6 feet up in the air. Have you guys ever seen those? It's like the old-fashioned ones. And I quote, I shit you not, a police officer was like in the middle of the street, like helping people cross, and then it was a green light. So he goes, this guy on this thing, like kind of pretends like to stop into him, and then skirts around him. And the policeman was like, he was so hurt off. I was like, this is like a World Star or like Hook Clips, like waiting to be recorded. But it was
fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, the policeman was like, well, fuck, like, but
my whole thing is like, what's the point of that? I mean, it just
of the bike or that movement
of the taunting.
Yeah, I mean, had it been a normal civilian, would he have done it? Probably. I mean, I was scared for the policeman. Obviously, when I saw it, I was like, I thought he was just going to smash into him. But I was also scared that someone's like 6 feet in the air cycling up. I'm like,
it's like, catch me if you can.
That's right. Like, hey, catch me. I'm the Death Up Chris guy.
That wasn't bad. At first, I was like, I don't know. Just so our listeners kind of know as well, this is recorded on 11/6. At 2 p.m., right? So we're probably going to know a lot more probably at 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. At least that's what they're saying.
They've been saying that for 3 days, yeah.
I saw somebody posted something that said 2020 has been the year where April just carried on for like 6 months. And then it's like from the same year that bought you April for 4 months, this is Tuesday for 5 days. Right, like a movie intro or something like that, because it's just been the election for like the past 5 days.
Yeah, because To some of my friends who are like hockey enthused, I've referenced this as like a game 7 in the 5th overtime. I was like, fucking hell, this just
Mhm.
won't end. And
Mhm.
like, and then when Biden went up to 253, I believe, I was like, oh, now he's on the power play. Like he's like, or when the poll this morning where he was leading every state, I was like, all right, now he's got like a big power play, but like it's never ending.
Yeah, and
It's
then the numbers are changed, like depending on what source you look at, like the numbers are in
yeah,
different ways. I think Trump stays at the same number, but Biden keeps going up or going down depending on what source you're looking
because
at.
of the mail-in votes. Yeah.
Yeah, which is weird, and that's
I don't know if everybody's using the Associated Press numbers.
yeah. I think it was so. I think it's Associated Press and Fox News have it at one number, and then like kind of all the other media outlets have it
CNN
as another number.
CNN has it as if Biden hasn't won Arizona yet.
Mm.
And that's what I see on CNN, I think.
That's why it says like 253 rather than 264.
Right.
But let's talk about like why it's so close, or what does that represent? Like the fact that it's such a close sort of election, like what does that mean for everybody?
For us specifically, or just the US in general?
Uh, I guess the U.S. in general. I mean, us. I
Uh,
mean, we're gonna keep doing what we gotta do, right? Keep making the trainer feed, keep training people.
yeah, keep training people. No, but honestly, I feel like it's I'll say this is not a stab at anyone. I think like me and David have definitely noticed some people that we perhaps were shocked or of things that came out or posted, and I think Angel, you made a point of saying like, listen, like everyone's entitled to their own opinion,
Mm.
but I would say that it's just been very look, at the end of the day, I think it's been interesting that it's I was definitely someone of opinion thinking that it wouldn't even be close like it has been. But what does it mean? Like, I mean, uh, I still think given if it's Biden that wins, right? Like personally, that's kind of what I'm hoping for. But like the change isn't going to happen overnight, and even with him in power, I still think like it's very as a I'm a permanent resident. Unfortunately, I'm not a citizen. It stopped during this whole process. I wasn't even able to vote, which is a little bit frustrating. Thankfully, New York was, went the right way. But it's very eye-opening, at least for me, having only really ever lived in the New York metro tri-state area, to see the rest of the country. Like I'm still very naive to the thinking, and it's very eye-opening. Even if you look at New York State, when you look at the map of the state, there's a lot of red, right? Like, and people tell me like it's always been a little bit like that, but like it just feels like this is the most divided this country has been in a very long time.
What about you, David? What do you get from it?
I mean, for a lot of that stuff, it's more of I've said this when what's his face got elected, Trump, when he was elected, like the first time, right? It was like there's someone that we elected that is backing up a lot of horrible things and horrible ideals that the United States, I think, was, I don't know, not keeping on the wraps, but sort of keeping it down rather than, making it a lot more vocal. Does that make sense? Like,
I know what you're saying though. Yeah.
like, yeah, sure. I mean, everybody has some sort of prejudice. Everyone has their own mentality, but I think when you have someone that has gone out on record saying things that are suggestive of all these things, people are saying, hey, somebody's finally having my same viewpoint. Let me take it a step further and actually say the things that I was thinking.
What about you, Angel?
I think it shows how I think it shows a couple of things. I think the first thing that it shows is how the campaigns were run kind of to divide, right? And I think campaigns in general, I don't know about other countries, but in the US, at least in this area, right? Campaigns are don't vote for so and so because they mean this, they mean that, right? Versus you should vote for me because I do this or I do that, right? So kind of like pointing the finger at the other guy has been 90% of the ads and 90% of the campaign, which leaves little room to kind of focus on what you actually need to focus on. And also it puts you on attack mode, right? So if you're pointing the finger on somebody, you're saying you're attacking them. You're saying you didn't do this, you didn't follow up with this, you needed to do this better. And it puts everybody on edge, right? Because they envision America or their town in a weird way. Damn, Josh, how to do me like that. They envision their town like going in another direction, and then it leads people to be fearful, and then everybody starts to vote out of fear as opposed to voting for actual like policies. And the fact that it's so close just goes to show how fear is a really successful tactic to use, for better or for worse. It's successful because, look at where we're at right now, right? Like people fear a Trump world, and then Trump supporters fear Biden world. And it kind of doesn't really make anybody happy at the end of the day, right? You should vote for somebody because I don't know. I feel like you should vote for somebody because you want them to be in office versus like voting for people because you just want to get somebody out, or prevent somebody from being there. So it's not the best scenario, right? Like this is, if you're going to look at it from like there's different universes and the upside down and all that stuff, this is not the best timeline to kind of like travel through. But we have a decision to make. We got a choice to make, and it's going to impact the rest of the world whether we want to see it as that or not.
Yeah, I think it definitely impacts like more of the world than we think, or maybe the US thinks. It's interesting you said like you should want to vote for someone who's going to go in and make the change and not just to get someone out. But I think like all I'll say is like I've only been, for listeners who don't know this, like I've only been in the States. Actually, it was 7 years, I think, about a week ago, actually. So I've been here like 7 years, but I didn't know much.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, it was a big deal. I'm happy. I'm like, look at you guys and everyone else. It's awesome. But
it's a weird time to celebrate.
Yeah, right. Happy COVID. I mean, like, and then on a little like spinoff of this celebration, like Angel, you were 30 in May, right?
Yeah.
So I'm supposed to turn 30 in August. This shit might not even be over in August, right?
Welcome to the club of nobody gives a fuck about your birthday.
And then David, when you become 30, let's hope to fucking God this shit still isn't going on, because that would be a very...
Well, I also think, that's a good point that you brought up, like the situation with COVID, because I do think, to kind of like circle back to the election and like why it's like 50-50, I think that COVID almost made it so that it's 50-50, right? And I say that because, you know how in 2016 there was the election and people were saying, we're living in a bubble. Wherever you're at, you're in a bubble. And there are other people who object to that bubble somewhere else, right? It was so like weird because nobody thought that Trump was going to be, I don't even think Trump thought he was going to win the election.
No, I think he was doing it for the publicity.
And then he did. And everybody's like, what? How did that happen? Right? I think COVID kind of like sealed us indoors, and allowed us to focus on like, social media or whatever, your household has. Like that was kind of like the mediums that you were digesting stuff by and information by. And when you have an election with all that stuff going on, like you kind of see like those capsules again, probably even more intensified than before, because you haven't even been like breaking bread, sharing the same table with those people who oppose you, right? Or oppose your vote, right? Let's not say like oppose you, your beliefs or whatever, but oppose your votes or voting for the other guy. And so now you're just like in this weird spot where you've just been digesting stuff for a long time in your own capsule, and now you're seeing like this 50-50 split so close. COVID's really done a number on us. I hope that when we get out of this, we can really just, I don't know, let out a sigh of relief and just talk to each other as human beings about the stuff that matters, and not really, get annoyed about who you voted for and all that stuff.
And at the end of the day, like everyone does want to get back to normal life, I'm pretty sure, right? Like everyone wants to get the sense of normalcy. Everyone wants to like, it's really tough. I'm sure you guys have it as well. When you walk by in the streets and you see more and more places boarded up, more and more places empty, and or like, you know, how at least New York City really thrived on tourism. As I'm sure a lot of cities in the US do, right? And
Yeah.
I probably mentioned this before on the podcast. I'm all for like with the lockdown, like I'm all for like not having open what isn't necessary, right? And like, for example, the vet. If you take your animal to the vet, at least the one we go to, you call them when you're there with your dog or your cat, whatever animal you have, and they come take it. And then once you're inside with your animal, like observing or going through stuff that's with your dog, whatever, they call you in this area. This is the examination. This is what we're doing. What should we look for? This and that, whatever. Then they bring the animal out, and that's it. And you stay out the whole time. And like practices like that, I think will go a long way to help prevent the spread. And no one wants to do it. And like, look, it's like you mentioned, David, it's going to start getting colder, and but I don't know. I mean, did you guys see the England lockdown everything yesterday?
Yeah, I have a client of mine
Gyms.
who's going
So
through it right now because she's under lockdown now.
so
That's a hard hit.
it's a hard hit, and like honestly, it's interesting. Let's say on the gym stand front, just on one aspect where like we spoke to JD and he came on like a few weeks ago, right? And like we spoke about how well their gyms closed like about a week after ours in March, but they opened like about a month before. And their approach with the masks, right, was that you didn't have to wear one unless you're coming into the club or you're going to a workout space. Once you're at your squat rack, once you're here, you can take it off, right? Like everyone's entitled
Yeah.
to their own opinion. That's what it was, right? And like, look, like it's not to say, oh, the gym's been the main spread, but now they've closed again altogether.
I'm curious to see
So
what those numbers are like. I know England is a smaller country, right? So I don't
yeah,
know like what it's like what the percentages are, but you know, that's a very hard hit because even now, especially now, right? I don't know what the weather's like over there either, but I'm assuming it's similar to New York in the sense like you might get some days that are like 60, 70 degrees
not even
Fahrenheit.
now.
Not even
There
now.
it's
Like it's
no, like there I'd say I don't know if JD mentioned this when we had him on, but like it's pretty much the weather there is milder in terms of the heat and the cold. So like it doesn't like now it won't get warm and it's not freezing cold, but now it like and no and I don't know if you remember if you guys remember if I've mentioned, but it rains like a lot in England. Like it rains a lot.
yeah, I saw it on Harry
And
Potter.
yeah, Harry Potter, like I mean, school isn't like that. I will break our listeners, I'm sorry.
Oh, word?
But yeah, I didn't have a wand or an owl or a broom. Sorry to
I
report
thought you
guys.
played rugby for Gryffindor. It was Hufflepuff.
Oh shit.
No.
You're not even Jacques. You're not even one of the good houses. You're one of the other ones no one cares about. But
Nah, Gryffindor was up.
I know, but David like said, "Nah, Hufflepuff."
Oh yeah.
Brought me back down to earth. But anyway, it's so going back to your point of the weather. Like the weather's not even like good. And I saw JD posted something on a story with like his walking out by his flat or out the outside part of his flat or something. So like, and I think they've said there are lockdowns until
no, a flat is an apartment.
yes for our my American.
I think they say that in the U.S. too.
Flat.
Who says flat?
I know people, but I'm not going to name names on the air.
But anyway, his apartment, his flat, whatever. Garage, whatever. Like, yeah. But their lockdown is until the 2nd of December, but I think they have a stimulus package until March.
Wow.
So,
whoa.
Yeah. So there's a meme I saw that was like, lockdown till December, stimulus package till March. Sounds a bit dodgy. So
I was just about the stupid American in me was like, damn, but they got to spend Thanksgiving indoors, but y'all don't have.
They don't do Thanksgiving.
I know.
But Christmas still like
Christmas is a big deal. But
Christmas
if you're but if they're open up for Christmas, now that's going to be tough when it comes to like the economy and sales of gifts for Christmas, right? Because now would be a time where you go out and you buy stuff for Christmas. I mean, everybody waits to the last minute. I think it's in human nature to do that. I don't think that's exclusive to US.
Right.
Like this would be a time where like you grab stuff up. And if you're going to only have that opportunity between December 2nd to December 25th to kind of like grab as much stuff as you can, like that's going to be crazy on UPS or the equivalent of UPS, FedEx over there. And everybody else.
Yeah, I think it's and that's where like I spoke to some people the other day about like it's interesting, right? Because companies like Amazon have like thrived in the pandemic, right? Like they've probably never made this much money, probably never had this many deliveries. Like
Chewy as well. One of my clients told me
Chewy
about
as
Chewy.
well. So these some of these companies have made so much money, and it's a little sad. I think we're very fortunate as fitness professionals that we're able to do it, and I think I also think like it's funny because a client of mine this morning I trained her virtually, and she said like, "Oh, are you still working out?" I was like, I like personally me, I wasn't gloating or bragging. I was like, I've got to do it 5 times a week because it's so important for my mental health. And I know we mentioned we're going to talking about dealing with stress. Like, I don't know how this installed with me as I was young, but I think my parents knew that I had somewhat of a lot of energy and like a lot of tension perhaps. And they said like, go out for a run, or go out, do something, go out and exercise. And that's just been my mentality with dealing with stress the whole time. And I know when talking to clients, sometimes I found this hard to relate, but like if I told them like, I don't drink alcohol when I'm stressed, like for them, sometimes that's not always easiest to relate. And I understand, I think I'm pretty sensitive to understand that can be just a more comfortable outlet for some people. No right or wrong, no judgments. I'm just saying that's how it is. But for me, it's always been exercise, and it's not saying that it's for everyone. But and then when it comes to the election, when it comes to anything stressful, working out has just always been. Working out has always been my way of dealing with stress, and that's why I said I was like, oh, I've got to do at least 5 times a week. And I think because I'm still like about walking out indoors, I'll try and do it once. I try and do it outdoors. I mean, we've got some good weather coming up now. We're able to do outside, but I think that will be tough when it gets like December to be able to do anything outside. I think that's gonna be hard.
Yeah, I agree. Like taking a turn towards like stress relief and like how to overcome it. I think even when it gets colder, we can find some sort of like stress relief by just walking outside, right?
Yeah.
Like bundle up, do what you got to do, put your gloves on, put your boots on, but just getting outside, being outdoors. I mean, we're fortunate enough. I'm not there yet. I gotta get my body fat game up, and if I'm gonna survive a workout,
I have plenty. No, the thing is, like with playing sports in high school, we played like lacrosse. Sometimes you play it in the fall to practice and stuff like that, or whatever it is. You just go and play outside. So I don't mind. I mean, like I said, bundle up, get your huge bubble coat on, do some swings.
Once you get moving, sometimes as well, like it's actually not so bad. Like once you get moving, it's maybe just like your outer extremities, such as your hands, that are not covered by anything. That like, because last Wednesday it was kind of raining, but like I was like, oh, I'm already at the club. I want to work outside, and it was disgusting. Where I was like, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna do it. Let's get like an hour in. But my hands are kind of cold. But point was, I'm outside, and I think like it's not so bad. You get excuse me, you layer up and you'll say it's not too bad and whatever. But like I think, yeah, it will be interesting to see come December. Hoping there's still that outlet of gyms for us to be able to go to. And but I agree with what you're saying, David. Like if you just bundle up, and it's interesting because now if you're training outside, you've got daylight to work with. Right, so it's getting dark at like 4:30 here because of daylight savings went on Sunday.
I felt like I was a mountain man when I was telling my clients, just wait till November 1st. The clock is going to go back, and then we're going to get this amount of daylight hours. And then I told my evening clients, we're going to have to push back a little bit. We're going to have to do this, that, and the third. And I started looking for places that were well lit versus dimly lit. And at certain times, like I was just like, out there. I know one of my buddies, he'll never listen to this podcast, but I still won't say his name. But he was like, one of these days, like we were in Central Park or something like that, and he heard like a quack, and he was like, "Oh, that's this sort of duck, like a mallard duck or something like that." And we're like, "What the hell are you talking about?" He's like, "Yeah, whatever." And same thing with like when it was raining, he was like, "Oh, the rain's coming from the northeast, so that gives us like 45 minutes between like whatever." And I was just like, yo, where are you picking this stuff up? Like we grew up in the same city. Like you grew up in Harlem. Like what's going on? But all that's to say, like I started feeling that way when I started paying more attention to kind of like when it was colder, when it was warmer, daylight versus nighttime, dimly lit areas versus well lit areas, and then also like surfaces as well, right? Because like if it rained last night or if it rained within the hour, you can't have your client on the grass because when they're going to do something, they're more likely to slip, right? So you got to like pay more attention to those little things.
Yeah, I agree. That's something to think about. Go on. Sorry, David.
We have them roll around in the mud.
Is that what you do with your people?
Do some get-ups right in the mud.
Dave was like, warm up, let's go.
You get grounded, right? I
Yeah.
don't know. You're sticking to the floor. So literally that cue when you're like doing deadlifts, stick your feet into the ground and try to
If you
spread the
slip, you
ground
slip
apart
wrong.
with your feet. If you're you slip,
And they're just sinking into the mud. Dave was like, keep going.
yeah.
Say again?
No, I have somebody later this afternoon, and hopefully it doesn't get too dark by the time we're done.
Yeah, I think I think that 5 o'clock is starting. If you start your session at 5, it's gonna get dark. So
Yeah.
4:30 ish to
Probably
5:30
latest.
is probably
Yeah.
the latest that you want to be, just to get some daylight or whatever like that.
But I also want to make a point, like, there was one client I trained, and we started not quite 7, but 6:45 because it made time, gave her extra time, whatever. But like, it was pitch black. This is 3 or 4 weeks ago. It was pitch black until like 6:50, right? Then like 5 off, the hour of 7 a.m. So much light, but like it's pitch black until that point, and like that's the
Morning,
thing.
right?
Like, say again?
In the morning.
Yeah, it was a morning, like in Midtown, downtown, and like she
Lower,
went to the wrong. What's that?
is it Lower Town?
Low
He was
town.
about
Where
to
the
say that,
fuck
low town.
are you? I'm on the lower town, mid New York, Manhattan.
Lowest side of the town.
Lower side of the
I
Manhattan.
left at 7 a.m. once, and I think I left my place at 6:15. It was fucking dark.
Yeah.
So I thought it was like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Now you gotta
What?
get the headlamps out.
Well, I told you how on yesterday, it was like, I always put my alarm for like 10 of a quarter of the hour. And usually if I have a 6 a.m., I do it for like 10 of quarter of 5. And then it's like, I look at my phone, I'm in the bathroom, and it says 6 a.m. I was like, oh, fuck, I'm supposed to be there at 6 a.m. I'm sure this still happened to us, but like, anyway, thankfully you never rode so fast on a city bike, huh?
Yeah,
Never
that
happened.
always.
It
Nah,
never
man.
happened to us before. It's only
Nah, it's definitely happened to me. Definitely happened to me. But not. Thank God it hasn't been like a lot of times, right? Like I'm not. It's just
Yeah,
like rare. It's probably like once a year. Once a year, you're
I was
just
gonna
like,
say, you can
what
count on
time
one
is it?
hand in your 5-6 years of training. You can count on one hand how many times that's happened.
I know.
Yeah.
It's weird.
But what about you
remember-
guys? Sorry, Angel, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, this is something sort of unrelated, but I remember one time so we work at 76, right? And then I was at like 96 in Broadway or something like that. And you know how you get the chime for when you have a training session? I think I probably told this story already.
10 of the hour, I think, right?
Yeah, 10 of the hour. And then it was a client, and I had just gotten like Starbucks iced green tea. It was in the summer, and I saw the chime, and I looked at my phone because sometimes you have like reoccurring appointments, and it's just like whatever, you don't even think about it, but then it just pops up, and I saw it, and I was just like shit. And this was before City Bike, so I just like chugged like half of the iced tea, threw it out, and I just booked it, and I made it there with like 2 minutes to spare.
So you ran?
I ran.
Wow.
I flew.
happened to me once where
Literally.
I
Just
was
the Angel, like.
Yeah.
Angel was just zooming.
Zooming around.
It happened to me once where I was training someone, and luckily this person is very close in my neighborhood, and I think we're supposed to meet at 9 in the morning, and I get a text at 9:01 that wakes me up, and she's like, "Hey, I'll see you in a minute." I was like, "Oh fuck!" I fucking got up, I wet my face, got my hair, put something on, booked it, and it was like nothing ever happened.
I know, if you can recover like that, like it's all good, It's
you
all
feel like a pro.
Yeah, you can be like, oh, I saved it.
Yeah, that's when you really feel like a fitness professional. Everybody wonders, when do you feel like a professional? It's like when you make that happen. That's
when I made that time, when you got like time against you, like. And my client because the clubs right now aren't open before the hour, or at least at 6 a.m.
Yeah, that's tough.
It's tough, right? But so for the member perspective, like he or she cannot access the club until 6 a.m. Yeah. So they don't actually come to meet on the floor until maybe 5 after. So that's where I like bought me a little bit of time as well. And like, I think he was just start stretching, but like and the thing as well is like, if it's out of your control, but it's funny you mentioned that chime, the notification, because even something, I don't know what it is, a Google Calendar or the Apple Calendar, I don't know what it is, but I've even had like sessions that through Equinox were canceled or moved.
And it still pops up, right?
Yeah. So like
that happens to me.
when I had like, I was like, I don't train this person
I haven't
anymore.
seen this person in 3 years.
Yeah. What's Mark doing? I don't know who Mark is anymore, or whoever it is, whatever. But like, but like you said, it's happened to me when I've been like, oh, I completely forgot the time, or like, who was it? I can't remember. It's happened to me before, and I've not realized the time, and it's like it happens. It's like it happens to all of us. But like if you're able, like I said, if you're able to recover, and you're good. But like,
Yeah,
um,
I wanted to circle over towards like the stress relief stuff. Because
yeah.
like I also had like another thing that I wanted to say. In regards to stress relief, aside from exercise, this week has been a little bit crazy, and I know that I had like a headache going on, and at first I thought it was COVID, so I didn't tell you guys this, but you know, breaking news. So I thought I had COVID, right? Everybody thinks that they had COVID at some point in time during this whole.
I thought I had COVID like 5 times in a month last month.
David actually did get COVID, so
Yeah,
it's kind of like once
no.
you have it, like you're kind of looking for the signs. You're like, can I smell something? Can I taste something? Whatever. But yeah, I started having like this tension headache, and I never really get tension headaches at all. I get migraines like probably once every 3 years. I know Jacques remembers the story when we were doing that sleep thing, and I had the migraine.
We'll circle back to that.
I
we'll
still
circle
don't know the
back
difference
to
between a migraine and a tension headache. It's all the
So-
same to me.
Yeah, so we'll dive into that a little bit after this. But yeah, so I thought I had COVID because I had like this headache, and it happened around like Monday, Tuesday, and I fell asleep Tuesday night, and I sort of had the headache, and I took some Tylenol. Then I woke up Wednesday morning, and I still had the headache, so I canceled like sessions and stuff like that. I told people, I was like, let me just check this out. You know, I might be freaking out for no reason. I got a COVID test Wednesday morning, and then it came back fine Thursday afternoon. But you know, all that's to say, like during that time period, I was just thinking in my head, I was like, you got to get over this. It's probably just a headache. It's probably just nothing. But how are you going to get over this, right? Like we practice so much with our clients about like stress relief tactics that we almost forget that we have to do it as well. So I, you know, shut everything off, all the electronics off, and I just rolled out a yoga mat. It sounds silly, but got a little like cover or sheet and just laid down on the ground. I know Baby Yoda does this from time to time. He takes his day naps.
Listen,
But
I fell asleep on the floor one time. I was watching something.
it's different when it's intentional versus unintentional.
Yeah, man, I was watching something. I was sitting on the floor, cross-legged, because it's comfortable, right? And
Just passed out.
I was like, you know, playing some music or something, and I was getting really sleepy, and I just like laid down and it was very comfortable. I think I slept for like 15, 20 minutes.
You know, there's like almost nothing more rewarding than when you find like a nice spot on the floor that you can just like chill. Like sometimes you just sit in your couch or whatever, but like when you're like sitting on the floor and like your head is on the couch, you know, and you're just like chilling and you're just like, damn, this spot is good. And then it's just like, I don't know, you find new spots. Maybe I'm just being whatever. But anyway, so meditating or doing deep breathing, breath work while lying down sometimes helps with relieving stress. I noticed to try to focus on my breath. I know the Apple Watch also has a feature where it targets your breath, right? So it says, you know, it vibrates and it tells you to inhale, and then it releases, and then it tells you to exhale during that time, right? And then it monitors your heart rate as well, and it says your heart rate was at whatever it was, 70 beats per minute, and now it's at 50 beats per minute. So I started doing that stuff, and that seemed to work. As well as like I got rid of coffee for a couple of days as well. So I stopped drinking coffee. Today was my first day with coffee.
Maybe that's why you had a headache.
It's possible because I also switched coffees probably like a month and a half ago. I was using some Whole Foods coffee, and then I switched to Café Bustelo, and that shit is like gasoline. But I guess we can talk about different coffees and stuff like that a little bit later. But the tension headache versus migraine. Tension headache is kind of like, or at least for me, it's kind of when you feel like a pressure, and it's like specific, and it like comes in waves, and you kind of like feel your pulse through like your head, right? Like your temple area specifically, just like boom, boom, boom. Migraines for me, at least personally, everybody has different versions of migraines is what I noticed. I know Javert, a guy that we worked with, he also had some migraines, and he told me a couple of cues to like get out of them. But like for me, I start to see blind spots. So it's actually pretty freaky, but like my vision just goes away. slowly I start to see, when you look at the sun or look at like some high beams or something like that, and
Black
then you look
spots and
away.
stuff like that.
Exactly. Like you start to see that. That's what I go through when I have migraines. And then I also, the blind spot is the cue to go home or like get to a spot where you could like chill. So I started seeing blind spots, and then I also get like sweaty, like cold sweats and things like that. By the time the cold sweats hit, I have about like 15 minutes to do what I got to do. Because when it hits, I'm out for like 3 to 5 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's just not great.
Can I tell the story about the last migraine I saw in person?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
So, me and Angel doing the T-Rex curriculum as a catch up, right? Because I think we both missed it.
Yeah.
And
Sure, I missed it again.
Yeah. So, but anyway, we're at this catch-up workshop, and I think it was like on sleep or it was a regeneration, like sleep focused one.
Yeah, it was sleep focused.
And Angel's like, oh man, like to the instructor, he's like, oh man, I don't feel so good. And the instructor's also like collaborates with how do I put it? He does, I think, he's just more innovation. So he's always working and connecting with companies who are like testing out different products. And there was a CBD cream, right? He suggested put on your head. And then Angel puts it on his forehead. And it took me everything to not laugh, because he was like, he didn't make, no, I'm not reviewing the product by any means, but like, I just think it was funny that like Angel went ahead, did it, and I think he just didn't feel any better. But he got home and was like, I probably look like a fucking idiot with that shit on my forehead.
Yeah, to kind of like elaborate.
It in properly?
No, to elaborate on what was going on, because I don't care. Like, it's fine. You can laugh at me. I laughed at myself because I thought that shit. But to our listeners, I want you to reflect on the last time you were at a meeting, right? And you were not feeling so great, and you were trying to contain it as much as possible. And just imagine you're in a meeting with a couple of, coworkers and, people that you're actually trying to build a team with. So you're doing team building stuff. So, it's relatively new space, familiar faces, but you're trying to create something. And all of a sudden, like, I started getting blind spots, and then my body started to overheat. So like, I told the guy, I was like, hey, I'm not feeling so well. And he's like, oh, you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to try to ride this out, but I'm not feeling too great. And then all of a sudden my body just turns on the heat. Boom. And I start sweating. Right. And so I'm taking off my layers, and, it's a relatively cool space. It's not necessarily hot.
Oh, no.
T-shirt, and my T-shirt is damp, like moist. Like, I can't hide that. And then he's like, oh, you feeling all right? And I wasn't participating. I was taking drinks of water, and, you're just trying to work shit out, right? Like in a meeting space, you're trying to work it out. You're like, I don't know what I need. Is it water? Is it coffee? I don't know. And then he's like, I got some CBD cream. And then he gives me the CBD cream, and I'm just, all right, cool. So I start putting it a little bit, on the temples, on the forehead, and I'm shifting my feet around. When you're just uncomfortable, you're just like, yo, I cannot, right? But you can't stand up because it's like a room full of like, people, and you're having a meeting, you're collaborating. But I clearly wasn't. And, I had some Tupperware out. I took the Tupperware out, and then I put the Tupperware back. Like, I was just doing shit that didn't make sense. I had a folder. I opened it up. I closed it. I started moving my pen around, clicking my pen. And I was like, yo, I think I texted Jock. I was like, dude, I don't think I'm going to make this. Because this was supposed to be like a 5-hour-long meeting. And this
was like 4 hours. Yeah, 4
hours. And it was like the first like 30 minutes, 45 minutes.
Not even 10, 20 minutes in, you were like, oh.
Probably. And then I just got out of that room. I told him, I was like, I'm sorry. I think that I'm just going to have to like leave. I'm not feeling too good. We're going to have to make this up at another time. He's like, yeah, no problem. Luckily, it was super cool, super chill,
very chill,
understood everything and all that stuff. And we're lucky to work in the wellness space where it's like we can do that stuff, right? Like, even if we're sitting down for too long, it's not uncommon for people in like the fitness wellness industry to just stand up during a meeting. Whereas like you try to tell your clients that, and they're just like, there's no way in hell I'm going to stand up in the middle of my meeting. But anyway, or have a meeting outside. Anyway, he was super chill, super understanding. So, he said, keep the CBD. And I said, all right, cool. My hands were like sweaty anyway. I'm sure he didn't want it. So I get out of there, and I'm waiting for the elevator. And, I just threw everything in my bag, right? So I'm still in the T-shirt, T-shirt stamp. I got my jacket in one hand, sweater in another, book bag in another. and I'm at the elevator, I'm hitting the button and it's taking too long. And then all of a sudden my body like, just drops. It like feels like the temperature just dropped and I started getting really cold. And I was like, I'm not going to make it, right? Because now I'm thinking, can I take the city bike? Hell no. Can I take the MTA? Hell no. I don't want to be struggling on a, MTA car, right? So then I said, I need some place to go. And I found the restroom. I went to the handicap stall. I'm sorry to anybody who couldn't use it during that time period. And I just worked some shit out. You got to fight your demons. And that was about it. That's all she wrote. And then I also texted my dad. Shout out to my dad. He was driving home from New Jersey at that time. We hadn't seen each other in a while, and he just scooped me up. I said,
Dad, I'm
right
struggling.
now.
I have CBD all over my face,
I
and I can't see where I'm going. It's all over my eyes.
I need this. I need this ASAP. I need this ASAP. Call me when you're downstairs.
Cool,
I'll send you the address. Boom.
I'm kind of blind right now. The CBD's blind.
Yeah, man. Like I was working some shit out. Dude kept cleaning the restroom. Must have went by like 5-10 times.
Wait, so did you faint or did you?
It was like borderline faint. So like, I don't know how it affects. I don't know if it's me specifically because I have colitis or whatever, but it just made me want to throw up. Like every time I get a migraine, vomiting pursues. Like vomiting.
I think I've had a migraine where I needed when I was nauseous. The thing with me is I don't know whether, and I've had headaches all the time. Like I get a lot of headaches. My mom used to get that all the time. And there are times where I don't even know if it's a fucking migraine or if it's just a headache because I haven't slept or if it's a headache because I'm hungover or if it's a headache because of blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
But there have been times where I've had headaches and it's kind of like pulsating. And then there are times where I'm just fucking nauseous. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. So that's the other thing too. Like I was happy because I already knew what it felt like to get a migraine. Because the last time I had a migraine like that, actually on that day was the day before. And I'll explain that in a little bit. But prior to that, the last time I had it was when I was in high school. So I was probably like, I don't know, like 16, 17. And that was also a funny story because I started losing vision in the middle of my class. And I told my teacher, I was like, hey, I can't really see that well. Like I have these blind spots. She was like, you need to go to the nurse's office, right? Go to the nurse's office. And I told the nurse and she's like, are you on any medications? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no. She's like, you're probably going to get the migraine and it's going to feel like hell. So we need to get you out of here. And you know how high school is, right? People make fun of you and do stuff or whatever.
Hey, yo, look at this bum.
Yeah, for real. So I said, can we do this like on the low? She's like, yeah, we could do it on the low, call your mom or whatever. That didn't happen because somebody was working or something like that. I don't want to like throw anybody under the bus, but that didn't happen. What happened was FDNY came to my high school and they pulled me out in like a wheelchair. The worst possible thing that you could even think of for a high school student. And it wasn't even when like people were like in class. It was when people were changing classes. So they get me out of the wheelchair and they get me out and they're just like rolling me around the hallways. And people just looking at me like, yo, what's going on with this kid?
He can't feel his legs. His migraine means he can't feel his legs.
I told my teacher, I was like, I'll have to text somebody for the homework or call somebody for the homework. All right, get better. It was bad.
Oh man, I can just picture you right now, in the wheelchair, and be like, "Yo, can't see where I'm going."
Yo, that was the worst. Next thing you know, I was in the hospital, and my parents.
Do they even sound the fire truckers? Are like, it's just you in the back.
That shit was crazy. The worst experience for a high school student. I mean, I went through it.
Oh my god!
Some people know the full story.
So
some people don't
funny.
know the full story, but I was definitely a weird kid in high school. So still weird now. Doesn't matter.
I'm not much better. I'm not much better at high school. I wasn't like. If anything, I'm one of those as well. Where like when I look back in high school and I look at people who are perhaps like some social groups or whatever, and now I'm like, oh well. You're a bum now, aren't you? So it's kind of how I see it. I'm not mad. I'm just like, okay, you do your thing. I'm over here. And what's funny as well is like, so being where I'm from in the UK, in England, still friends with a lot of people back home, but some people I've not heard from in a long time, or honestly, like some people since I moved over, I never heard from again. Like, and it's just, it is what it is. And but some people have reached out like once they see that I was like, oh, I've been here 4 years or 5 years, and they realize that like I'm like living in the streets of Manhattan or whatever. They're like, oh, hey, how did you get your how did you do your passport, this, that? And I'm like, motherfucker, I have not heard from you in 6 years, and you're gonna ask me how to do a passport? How about like a little hello, how have you been? Like, and that's why like it's just funny. Some people again like may have not like. I just think like there's no that meme like or that joke like you never know what happened to the people you were mean to in high school. What is it again? Do you guys remember that?
No, I don't remember
Be
that.
careful who you mean to in high school. That's it, right?
Interesting.
Be careful who you mean to in high school. Whatever. Like it's like people get on, but like it's just funny as well. Like because I was like a late bloomer as well, so I was actually, believe it or not, like I was one of the smaller people from my year, my age. And came like 17, I was fucking taller than most people and whatever. Whatever, but yeah,
so you got fucked up knees, bro.
Yeah, can you imagine if I didn't have fucked up knees, how much taller I'd be?
I'm saying
be in the
that's why
fucking
you have
NBA.
fucked
Oh,
up
that's why I fucked up knees. I mean, that's why a lot of kids get like tendonitis, right? Like in their knees from like growing pains or whatever. But
yeah, I had the craziest growing pains in like my Achilles tendon. Did anybody else go through that? Was that just me?
I think
I
Alex might have.
I don't think I've ever gone through growing pains.
Yo,
I mean, I'm not.
That's why I'm taller than you, David.
Me. Yeah, you guys are taller than me.
Yeah, but I don't know. When did it doesn't really matter. I was gonna ask like when did you stop growing? But everybody like stops growing.
Probably
sometime.
like I think
sometime in your 20s, I think.
Yeah, I think you start growing like early 20s. Yeah, I think like I think
I heard women
my
stopped growing at 18.
well they grow
earlier,
sooner than us as well. So like that's why like, you're 14, they were like 2 heads taller than you, like fuck. But then like
isn't that weird? Like, did you ever look at like your high school or middle school pictures and you're just like, damn, this dude was like disproportionate. You know what I mean? Like people like your hands grow like really big before like everything else grow, or your arms grow really long, and you're just like,
it's like Alfie. Alfie's ears are like have never changed size. He's always had the smallest head, smallest body, and the body and the head just grows into that head.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing. Yeah.
You know, your eyes are the same size when you're a baby.
Are you serious?
Really? Yeah.
Damn. Well, thank God for some babies with big eyes that they'll grow into them. That's what I'll say.
I was just think about that. I gotta sit on that one. Holy smokes! I didn't realize that. You ever seen like
where
babies?
I got that from?
Where? Snapple cap.
Snapple cap.
Yo.
Yep.
Well, that's on the inside of the caps. They have the facts.
Yeah, they used to have those facts. Did they have that in the UK as well?
Possibly. I wouldn't. Even if they did, I probably wouldn't have drunk it.
Damn.
You never had Snapple?
I'm not crazy about it. I also have. I don't know what age, right? I started getting really sensitive teeth, and then like, and the other thing as well was like, I don't know if any of you guys remember this, but I told you I used to work behind a bar in England. So when I was like 16, 17, I was learning the ropes. But anyway, between the ages of like 17 and like 22 for 4 or 5 years, I had access to whatever soft drinks I wanted, and then things like any kind of soda on tap, like you can just have. It's just like like a box of syrup costs like not even $1, and then you can charge like $2, $3 for each drink. Like you make so much money. It's like a little bit of syrup is nothing. So anyway, we're allowed to have that on tap. And so the first like months I was doing the job, I'd have like 2 or 3 Diet Cokes like a night, like easy, like no problem. But like anything, when you're exposed to something and when you when it's in front of you and you can have it every day, you just learn that it's like you have your dose, you get sick of it. And thankfully over time, like I did, and also I wasn't sleeping, right? Like I would get home, I was like really wide up till like 5 a.m. The long story short, I moved over and I just realized I was able to kind of like, and it also started hurting my teeth as well. So like,
yeah, whenever I have Coke, it's a weird feeling on my teeth. I don't, that's why I don't drink it much anymore.
It's
a weird feeling.
I don't.
Grippy. It's very grippy.
Yeah. And it's even like me and Alex love Tacombe. I know, Angel, you know the one on the west. Oh, you probably know as well, David. The one on 79th in Amsterdam. So we love Tacombe, and like what I think she had like a pineapple drink, and my teeth were like, oh man, they were struggling. It's really, really sensitive.
Like it hurts.
And yeah, and like I also actually got cavities filled as well. I had 4 cavities. I did them twice in a week. But but anyway, I think that's been like a saving grace. But like the thing that like ice cream, right, is like a sweet tooth of mine as well. So like that's hard to kind of like.
Yo, I've never seen. Well, actually, I have seen one of my boys takes trying to find like a good way to say it, but like eats candy almost at the same rate as you do.
That's hard to do.
That is hard to do. If you've ever
Well-
seen Jacques, like put like just have a conversation with him, put a little handful, a little bowl of Jolly Ranchers or something like that right in front of him. See how fast this man could take down Jolly Ranchers. It's insane.
It's cookie. Well, I don't know if you guys remember, I think it was you, Angel. Someone at 76th Street had like a box of cookies. And it was the kind where like you could slip your finger on the side, take one, and you never know it's the back of the box been open. So I was in there and I was like, fuck, like no one's gonna fucking know. And I was like, you know what? Like do it every hour, every 2 hours, and they'll
those
never know.
Entenmann's cookies with the plastic like kind of see-through wrapping on top. That's what it was.
I fucking was like crushed like I don't know, like 8 in like an hour or something like that.
Jacques was a kid in school where he was a fucking juvenile. You're a fucking delinquent.
Nah. I've always
no one will know.
No, but actually I think I told you guys about Schmackery's, didn't I? The cookie place near me here. Basically like it's back up until 10, but during the lockdown it's open until 8. But if you went at 8 p.m. they had the box.
Yeah.
And
I think you told me about that.
Yeah, and I was like, and I was supposed to bring some to when we all hung out, and I forgot them. And I was like, fuck, I had like 7 of them sitting here at home. But
the funny thing. Go ahead.
Go on.
I wanted to go back to the Entenmann store because I thought that was pretty funny.
Well, I'll let you circle back there, but it's so funny because I remember I think our second episode of the trainer feed. So this is going back to like April, I think, where we spoke about like Larry's cookies. I actually have now. I've almost increased it, and I have one every single day. And that sounds like really excessive to our listeners, but I'll tell you that I have. Look, I've seen my performance go up, and I've seen my recovery but I've seen my performance, and I've seen my weight and everything, like my body transform in a way I'm liking. So like it works for me. So come at me, take some shots. I'm having one live cookie a day. Come at me. But anyway,
Larry's cookies. Shout out to Larry's Cookies. He's doing Larry's performance. Cookies. It will increase your performance.
Okay, you're doing ring muscle ups.
It'll increase your vertical by 10%.
Yeah,
I'm down with that.
Yeah, there you go. But going to the Entenmann story, like that one was particularly funny because anybody who's worked in a training or fitness kind of like club can probably say that if you leave food in like the lounge area just open or just there, people will eat it, right? And especially if it's like snacks or cookies or something like that, not like necessarily somebody's Tupperware with food, even though that has been eaten before. Happened. Like that's debatable. Yeah. People will get hungry enough and just eat your food. But the Entenmann story was pretty funny because like that box was there, and I was there all day that day of the Entenmann's the Entenmann's box day, I guess if you want to call it. Nobody knew whose box that was and who left that box there. But when I tell you from like 8 a.m. to like 9 p.m., like the damage that was done to that box was crazy. That box was actually never open. It was still sealed on all of its sides. But you would have somebody like Jacques like, yo, who left that there? Who left that there? And then, you know, somebody just ripped open a little bit of the hole in that plastic covering at the top. It was done.
I think I got one too. I think one or two.
After that, everybody just started going to town. Like it was just like after one session, another person came in, another one came in. Jacques left. Jacques ate one or ate two, and then left, and then came back. It was like, my client's not here. Let me grab 2 more. Like,
oh yeah, that's what it was. My client was late. I was like, fuck it.
It was Mike. Mike kept bringing shit every week, every other week, like just boxes of shit.
From a weekend, he didn't have. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, it was just funny that nobody actually ever opened that box. That it was just from the top.
To the side.
That comes to show. It's like, you know, when somebody starts something, you know, people just keep going.
It's not very honest to me, but I remember Mike would bring some stuff. I think when I asked him about it, he's like, well, look, like I ordered this much over the weekend. I didn't want it to be at home because I would just eat it. So I brought it into you. And it's funny because one day I said like, oh man, you shouldn't do this. And he's like, what, you don't have willpower? And I was like, oh, fair enough. But that was actually, it's so funny. We'll wrap it up shortly, but like there's some protein bars in the club, at sports club. And someone said, oh, I'll take them. Damn, I must have had about 5. There was a box sitting there, and I got one. What's up?
In a day?
In like 2 hours. I know. That's my problem. Where like
shitting bricks.
That's my problem, though. Like, I mean, admittedly, it wasn't like a big one. Pause. It was like a small one. Pause. And
That's
'cause it was
mad.
just, and it's so funny because like it was someone else had one. He's like, oh, what are these? Whose are these? And he's like, oh, this tastes like shit.
Oh, I think it was me. Are you wait, are you talking about the ones that Javert brought in or something like
Nah,
that?
this is a sports club last week.
Oh, okay. All right. I wasn't there.
Yeah. So
Anyway, all right. So we'll wrap up.
wrap it up.
Yeah. Stay tuned for our next episode. I'm sure we got some good stuff lined up for you guys. And de-stress, chill out, and breathe.
Breathe.
All right. Later.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Deuces.